In this video, we're going to show you how to replace a rear wheel bearing on your Subaru Forester. This is going to be located behind the rear wheel. Let's get started. Using a 19mm socket, remove the 5 lug nuts. Remove the wheel. Using a 32mm socket, remove the axle nut. If you're not using an impact, you should unstake this nut using a punch and a hammer. Remove the axle nut. Push on the axle shaft, make sure it moves freely in the hub. Ours does. If yours does not, take a punch and a hammer and hit it in until you get it to move freely. Using a 10mm socket, we're going to remove the bolt for the ABS sensor. Remove the bolt. Using a pair of pliers, we're going to get onto that ABS sensor. And we're going to gently twist it back and forth to break the rust. As we twist, we're going to pull up gently and remove the sensor. Put this off to the side. Using a 12mm socket, remove the bolt for the brake line on the knuckle. Remove the bolt. Pop the brake line off of the knuckle. Using a 14mm socket, we're going to remove the 2 caliper bracket bolts. We're going to crack them both free before we remove them. Second one's up here, right behind that brake line. Remove both bolts. Remove the caliper assembly and put it on top of the control arm. Make sure there's no tension on the brake hose. Using a soft face hammer, I'm going to tap on the side of the rotor and remove it. Now we're on the back side of our knuckle. We're going to use a 14mm socket, and we're going to loosen and remove our 4 wheel bearing bolts. I'm going to go around and crack them all free and then remove them. Remove the 4 bolts. Using an air hammer with a chisel bit, we're going to get behind our backing plate here in between the knuckle. And we're going to use this chisel to push up and in. And we're going to pop over to the other side and do the same thing, working this wheel bearing out. We're going to take that bit out of our air hammer and leave it there while we pop over to the other side. Pull the wheel bearing assembly and backing plate off of the axle. You're going to grab a hold of your backing plate. Using a hammer, we're going to hit the wheel bearing out of the backing plate. Remove the wheel bearing. We're going to clean up where the wheel bearing sits in the backing plate with a wire brush. If you marred up your backing plate while removing it with your air hammer bit, there's like a big lip right here. Go ahead and take a grinder and take that lip down until it's flat with the rest of the backing plate again. Ours looks pretty good. It's even painted still, so we'll leave this alone. Using a wire brush, we're going to clean out where our wheel bearing sits. We're going to use some brake parts cleaner and clean up all of the rust and dust. I'm going to take a clean rag and wipe it all down. I'm going to take a bit of Never Seas and I'm going to put it around the wheel bearing. We just want a little bit on there. This will help that rust not come back. We're going to take a bit of Never Seas and go inside of our knuckle where our wheel bearing is going to sit. I'm going to take one last pass around the inside of the backing plate. Be sure you're not reaching through and touching any of your brake parts. Grab your backing plate and we're going to install the wheel bearing into it. Get it fully installed in there. Install it onto the axle. and push the wheel bearing into the knuckle. I'm going to install my axle nut. This will make it so our wheel bearing doesn't fall off the front. I'm going to use a punch to help me line up the wheel bearing with the knuckle. Go around and get all of the bolts installed. Snug the bolts down. We're going to snug these down in a cross pattern to be sure it sits square. Torque the wheel bearing bolts to 48 foot-pounds in a cross pattern. Go around one more time just to double check. Install the rear rotor. Snug the axle nut down. Using a pry bar, we're going to hold the studs while we torque the axle nut. Torque the axle nut to 140 foot-pounds. Using a punch and a hammer, we're going to stake our axle nut. This will make it so our nut cannot back off. Grab your caliper and install it around your rotor. Install the caliper bracket bolts. Snug the bolts down. Torque the caliper bracket bolts to 49 foot-pounds. Install the ABS sensor into the knuckle. Get the bolt started. Snug the bolt down, get it nice and tight. Install the brake line onto the knuckle. Get the bolt started. Snug the bolt down. Get it nice and snug. Install the wheel, get the lug nuts started. Snug down all the lug nuts. Torque the lug nuts in a star pattern to 89 foot-pounds. And you're good to go.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.